Increasing women's workforce participation has the potential to boost Ontario's economy by about $7 billion a year. This means more new moms like me won't have to choose between going back to work or taking care of our kids.
À cause des coûts élevés en Ontario, la province de l'Ontario est la deuxième province au Canada avec le plus faible taux d'enfants en garderie. En tant que mère de 4 enfants, je crois que chaque femme et chaque famille devrait pouvoir choisir le type de garde qui leur convient. Parce qu'avoir un bon système de garde, c'est avoir une économie forte pour tous.
On average, childcare costs take up 17% after tax income for Ontario. According to Stats Canada, the top reason Ontario children aren't in childcare is cost. 10 years ago, I had to leave my previous job because we were unable to find affordable childcare. Decisions made by our elected representatives can make people's lives better when the conversation around childcare is front and center of our post-pandemic economic recovery.
Only 1 in 4 Ontario children under the age of 4 have access to licensed childcare. As a new mom, as you can tell, of a 6-month-old, I've had to start thinking about our plans for when I need to go back to work. I think Ontario deserves better than a system where moms have to choose between their carriers.
Ontario's childcare costs are the second highest in Canada and approximately 40% higher than the national average. Families need to have comfort knowing they don't have to choose between a job they love and quality, affordable childcare.
As a mother and a teacher, I know how important a good start to life is for children. Every dollar invested in childcare returns $2.50 to the economy. It's good for families. It's good for our economy. It's good for Ontario. It's because accessible, affordable childcare means a strong economy for everyone.
In Ontario, the average cost of childcare is about $12,800 per child per year. That's a lot for anyone, let alone a single mom like me. I love my job and I want to know that I don't have to choose between working and ensuring my children are well taken care of.
Ontario has the lowest women's workforce participation in Canada at 81.5%, compared to 87% in Quebec. The workforce participation rate for women with children below the age of 6 is just 73%. If Ontario women were to participate in the labor force at the same rate as Quebec, Ontario's economy would benefit from nearly 160,000 more workers. Effective childcare is good economic policy.
And that and these little people are why we are here today. I am excited to welcome the leader of the Ontario Liberal Party, Stephen Del Duca, to unveil our plan to deliver care to every child in Ontario. I'll pass it over to you, Stephen.
Well, thank you very much, Kate. Good morning, everyone. It's such a thrill for me to see all of you, to be here with all of you. Kate, it's great to see you as always, and Flora, and everyone else who's participating this morning. I just want to say how grateful I am to all of you, not only for being here and participating, but for sharing your experiences and your profoundly important and compelling stories about why the work that we are doing and what we are announcing today is so critical for Ontario's future. Now, let's face the facts. Over the last 14 or 15 months, the people of this province have had to go through, well, so much suffering and so much sacrifice. It's been an incredible struggle for families in every corner of Ontario to deal with this pandemic. It's just been an incredible ordeal. As the leader of the Ontario Liberal Party, as an opposition party leader, I have an important responsibility, for sure, to hold Doug Ford to account for the bad decisions that he makes, decisions that he's been making, bad ones, for now about 3 years, in particular during this pandemic, decisions that have sadly had tragic consequences. But as somebody who is running to be your next premier, I also have a job. I have a responsibility to talk to you and to share with you about the ideas that I have for Ontario's future. For me, it has to be about proposing, not simply opposing. I want you to understand what Ontario Liberals would be able to do differently and do better for you and for your family and for our province. I'm convinced that the people of this province, the people of Ontario, on the other side of this pandemic in particular, will be looking for and craving security. They're going to want us collectively to deliver and build resiliency. And they definitely will want us from government on down and from the people on up to encourage empathy so that we're looking out for one another, which I think is critically important today, more so perhaps than ever before. And the announcement that I'm going to make in just a quick second, to me, to us, is an essential building block for that kind of Ontario, the kind of Ontario that we will build together. An Ontario where every single child has the best possible start in life, regardless of their circumstances, regardless of where they come from or where they live, where moms and dads have the peace of mind to know and the trust in their government, the peace of mind in their government and their faith in their government to know that the folks working at Queen's Park and their premier is truly on their side. And I want to work hard with all of you to build an economy that produces jobs that pay well, steady paychecks, and provide families with the kind of benefits that they need. This is the best way to deliver that real opportunity and that fair shot for everyone. And so that's why I'm thrilled to be here with all of you to unveil officially the Ontario Liberal Party's plan for universal $10 a day licensed childcare, care for every child in Ontario. The quality care that we, working hard with all of you, will provide for the families of this province, well, that care is going to be accessible, it's going to be reliable, and it's going to be affordable. There are hundreds of thousands of parents, particularly moms, and let's recognize for a quick second, we're just a few days away from Mother's Day. There are thousands of parents across this province. They need support and help to keep working, or just as importantly, to be able to return to work and to have that peace of mind. We also know that so many different families in this province have different needs. And so the plan that we have come up with is flexible and provides the opportunity or preserves the choice for Ontario's families who have those different needs. And just as importantly, the Ontario Liberal Plan for Childcare, Care for Every Child, will deliver urgent pocketbook relief for Ontario's hardworking families, the families that have been putting the time in and making the sacrifice and feel every year that they're falling further and further behind. We will be a government that's on their side. So for example, here are the details. Within the first 100 days of taking office, by the start of the 2022 school year, the Ontario Liberal Plan will reduce the cost of before and after school care by about 50%. We're going to be bringing that down to $10 a day. Here's what that means on average for the families of Ontario who use that service. It's approximately a savings of $2,300 for every child every single year. Next, we know that our plan, Care for Every Child, is going to require thousands of new and well-trained and motivated early childhood educators. We know that we're going to need them. So instead of waiting until it's too late, we will immediately upon taking office start to recruit and properly train the women and the men who want to come forward and pursue that profession, which is so important to our collective success. Well, how are we going to do that? The Ontario Liberal Plan calls for making their college tuition free and for introducing a new compensation structure that puts them on par with the early childhood educators who currently work in Ontario's full-day kindergarten system. This way, those early childhood educators that will help staff and support and really build out the Ontario Liberal Plan for Childcare, Care for Every Child, will have the support they need for themselves, but also the support they need to in turn support their families. By the end of 2024, about 2.5 years after we take office, should we get the opportunity to govern Ontario, we will have delivered right across the board $10 a day universal childcare in every corner of this province. And to put that in perspective, we heard this during the introductory comments from my colleagues, that will mean about an 80% savings for Ontario families who used licensed childcare. That means an average savings of about $10,000 per year per child. That's huge. That's a lifeline. That's what Ontario's families desperately need. As I said a minute ago, Ontario Liberals do recognize that different families have different needs. They're searching for different pathways to the care that will help support them and help their kids get that great start. And that's why the Ontario Liberal Plan for Childcare, Care for Every Child, is actually going to include or retain and enhance the existing childcare tax credit that we have here in the province of Ontario. And by enhancing it, I mean we're going to be augmenting it or increasing it by 50%. So those families that don't participate in licensed childcare for the reasons that they have, well, we've got their backs too. Lastly, the current 18-month parental leave program that exists means that at the end of a 12-month period, a person, a mom or a dad who's taking advantage of the full 18 months will see their benefits be reduced. Well, I don't think that's good enough. We don't think that's good enough. So we're going to be introducing a top up to the parental leave program so that moms and dads, both who choose to go to the full 18 months, will actually have the benefits in place to help support them in what they need. When you take this all together, you see that it's comprehensive. It is very detailed. It's exactly the kind of plan that the people of Ontario, the hardworking families of this province, so desperately need. In fact, when you think about this and you look at the whole picture of our plan, Care for Every Child, it shows that every single Ontario family who needs childcare in our province will be better off under the Ontario Liberal Plan than they are today. That's progress. That's building the kind of security, resiliency, and empathy that Ontario needs. You know, for years, people have been advocating strongly for real childcare here in this province. We've made some incremental progress along the way, but in this moment, with the federal government that stepped up to the plate and offered financial support that's serious and significant, this is a game changer. Ontario families need a government at Queen's Park. They need a premier at Queen's Park who understands how to take advantage of this moment. And this is the moment that we need to strive towards. And as my colleague said earlier, it's not just about social policy, though it is extraordinarily important social policy. Getting childcare right is economic policy. And I say that as someone who served as the Economic Development and Growth Minister for this province. The Ontario Chamber of Commerce, the Royal Bank of Canada, the Business Council, the Conference Board of Canada, so many others have made it quite clear. If we want our post-pandemic economy to recover, and we want that recovery to be successful and sustained, we need universal licensed childcare and a comprehensive system that shows Ontario families that we're on their side. The Ontario Liberal Plan, Care for Every Child, does exactly that. And fundamentally at its core, this plan for the people of Ontario demonstrates that all of what we do, those of us who seek office or run for office, it's not about us. It's not about us as individuals. It's not about individual political parties. It's about finding a way to demonstrate that it's all of us in this together. So we have that security. So we're looking out for one another. And in moments, both good times and crises like we've dealt with over the past year, that we're here together, all of us. So with that, I'd be delighted to take any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.
Okay, for everybody on the line, a reminder to please write to the chat with your full name and outlet name if you have a question. All right, our first question is Steve Paikin from TVO.
Good morning, Stephen. You hear me okay?
I can. Morning.
Very good. Good morning. Just curious if you have a price tag on this.
So yeah, absolutely we do. So what we are talking about doing would require a $1 billion provincial contribution to deliver everything that we're talking about. You know, I know you watch this stuff really closely, Steve, so you'd know that the federal budget that was announced a number of weeks ago includes significant funding from the federal level to support childcare across the country. They are calling for, if I'm not mistaken, $8.3 billion that would be invested in that national childcare system. By my math, Ontario's, let's say, per capita share should be about $3.2 billion, approximately, of that. So the federal contribution of $3.2 billion, an additional $1 billion coming from the province under my leadership, should we win the election next year, combined about $4.2 billion to be able to provide everything that I've discussed this morning.
And as a follow-up, just wondering if this is for licensed, not-for-profit childcare only, or does it go beyond that?
So the $10 a day is for, I call it universal, we call it universal licensed childcare, if I'm not mistaken. So the way that we're going to build it out over the next 2.5 years will in fact be prioritizing the not-for-profit sector. In the province of Ontario today, roughly 20% of the spaces are in the for-profit sector. Those spaces would also be eligible for the $10 a day.
Thank you.